Good day, everyone. Good evening to you. I'm glad that God has made us to witness another day and as you look into another book today. I'd like to welcome you to tonight's teaching broadcast of Kingdom Arena as we start a new book with on Awaken the Leadership in You broadcast. And today we'll be looking at a new book that we're going to start off with. It is called the Cash Flow Quadrant. The Cash Flow Quadrant is a very interesting book, and it works best with, it syncs perfectly well with the theme of this month in Kingdom Arena. The theme of this month in Kingdom Arena is legacy. That is trying to teach us on how to build legacy. A legacy for our children's children. And but we want to first of all be able to see how money is earned. Because the book we are looking at today, written by Robert Kiyosaki, just works perfectly in line with the theme of the month, because what we have been focusing on in our church this month is building a legacy of wealth. And it's impossible for you to build a legacy of wealth without actually talking about money. And so we started this month by looking at what understanding money, making money, managing money, multiply money, and consequently now building a legacy of wealth. What we have looked at so far is in the month, in the last 2 weeks, in the last 2 Sundays, focus on understanding money and making money. And in the process of teaching on this, I made mention of an important concept that we need to be aware of, and that's the concept of cash flow quadrant. Today, I want to start that because it is important for us to have a grasp of the understanding of what this cash flow quadrant is. You see, one of the reasons why I cannot also display the slides tonight also is that the slides I'm working on again disappeared. I think I would love to look for people that are tech savvy and many of these software savvy to tell me what I'm doing wrong, why these things keep disappearing. I haven't worked on it. So the main idea of the cash flow quadrant, written by Robert Kiyosaki. Robert Kiyosaki wrote a book that is very well known, popular, and this book just built on it. And the book that Robert Kiyosaki wrote was Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I'm not going to be talking about that, but I'm going to talk about the cash flow quadrant, in which the cash flow quadrant, as the main idea of cash flow quadrant, is to inform the readers of the 4 ways income can be generated. You belong to one of these quadrants, or you may have an overlap of 2, or an overlap of 2 with the intention of moving on to the last one, which is the most vibrant way of earning money. The quadrant basically means 4 ways. It means 4 consequential way, I beg your pardon, 4 sequential way by which people make money. Some can get stuck in one quadrant and not being able to move to the second quadrant, but some can progressively move from the starting quadrant until they get to the last quadrant. And when we are saying quadrant, it's just 4 boxes arranged in a row and in a column. In one row, 2 boxes and 2 columns. So you have 4 boxes that rotate clockwise, starting from E which stands for employment. That is, you can get a job. And then the next quadrant, which is also another box, moving clockwise, which anti-clockwise, no, this thing was not arranged well. Okay, all right, all right. It's actually, yeah, even though it's a quadrant, but it's not moving in anti-clockwise or in clockwise direction. But what you must just understand is this: yeah, you can fix any one of them into any of the quadrants. The first one is box 1, employee. As an employee, getting a job. The second one is you can be self-employed, in which S stands for self-employed. The third one is that you can build and own a business system of some type and have other people working for you. That makes you a system is the key word in the third quadrant, which means you create a business system which runs independently of you, and you have some people to manage the machinery of the system. And the last one, which is high, stands for investment, becoming an investor. You can invest in other businesses, effectively letting your money and other people's money work for you. So when we look at quadrant E, which stands for employment, and quadrant S, which stands for self-employed, we discover that most people, the book summary that we are looking at, cash flow quadrant, now writes that most people spend the majority of their time working in the two quadrants of employment and self-employed. The only problem there is to be able to build assets, and that may not decline in value. Being able to build an asset that increase in value, and for the people to be able to do this, they take on greater amounts of debt, locking them into working harder still to earn more, to service more debts. Get that again. The people in this quadrant, employment and self-employment, they have one problem, and the problem is that in their attempt to build assets which may increase in value, that is houses and possessions, they take on greater amounts of debt. Like they wanting, as a self-employed or employed person, wanting to buy a house requires that you look for a deposit, and then the rest of the mortgage you take it out with a bank, and that's a greater amount of debt. So unlocking this means you can't afford not to have work, you can't afford not to work. So it means you have to work harder. Some will take 2 jobs, 3 jobs in order to earn more to service the debts. And also the other 2 quadrants, being a business owner and being an investor, the financially astute oftentimes maximize the amount of time spent on activities in these 2 quadrants, as a business owner or as an investor. To them, an asset is anything that generates cash flow. Cash flow is the king in becoming financially free. Cash flow is the king in becoming financially independent. To them, an asset is anything that generates cash flow. And the objective of these 2 quadrants is to build their asset until that source of cash flow covers lifestyle expenditure. They work to build a system that have a system of assets that through those sources of assets, they are able to generate cash flow that cover the lifestyle, the kind of lifestyle expenditure that they would like to have. So true wealth, now talking about true wealth, is measured in time rather than dollars. Specifically, wealth is the amount of time you can maintain your current standard of living without physically working. How many of us can do without physically working now? It means we are not yet financially free. So the greater this kind of wealth of being able to generate, of being able to have time that we do not use to generate income in order to service debt, rather we have time that we can make, that can allow us to maintain our current standard of living without physically working. When you have come to that, then you have become wealthy. When you have come to the level whereby you don't have to physically work, and yet you are generating cash flow to meet your standard of living, that means you are wealthy. So the greater this kind of wealth, the more financial freedom you achieve. It's important to note that as long as your presence is still needed in order to generate income to maintain your standard of living, you are not yet wealthy. You are not yet wealthy. You are still most probably in the first two quadrants of employment or self-employed, because you can't move away from physically being present at your work or in your workplace in order for you to generate income. So the central objective of the cash flow quadrant that we'll be looking at, we'll look at it today. Next weekend we have a conference called Freedom Conference, which is the theme of the conference is financial freedom in your future. So the book we start to summarize today acts in tandem with the theme of the month and the conference of this month, Freedom Conference. So the Freedom Conference, which starts in a week's time, focuses on financial freedom in your future. How a poor financial planning can prevent a good financial freedom in the future. That is, failure to prepare is preparation to fail. And how to prevent that poor financial planning through a proper financial planning for your future is what that conference is all about. So I will beg you to listen carefully to this cash flow quadrant book of Robert Kiyosaki that we will be looking at. Today may just be an introduction to it, and by the grace of God, in 2 weeks time when we resume, because of next week is going to give us, we will not be broadcasting this. Will be on YouTube and on Facebook with a US Zoom meeting as we start that conference 7 to 8 p.m. next Friday. Financial freedom in your future. If you look at our Instagram handle, Facebook handle, you will see we have posted that one in there. All right. So the central objective of the cash flow quadrant, this book that we are reviewing, that we are summarizing, I beg your pardon, we are not reviewing it. The owner has written what has written, but we are just summarizing it in order to extract the cogent points from the book. Listen, the subject of money is very pertinent to everybody's life. Your life, my life. Why? Because all services are paid for by money. The class of society, the class you belong in society is irrelevant. You need money to buy all the services, because all goods and services are exchanged with money. So the quality of your life may be directly proportional to the quality of the money you have disposable to spend. If you don't have enough disposable income, you are constrained to the low level of standard of living. But if you have more disposable income to spend, you are bound to have a higher standard of living. When I say higher standard of living, that is, you are able to buy what you want. You don't only just buy what you need, but you buy what you want. So there is a bit of convenience, more convenience, better convenience that you can afford Why? Because you have more disposable cash flow to spend to get the conveniences. So the central objective of the cash flow quadrant, therefore, is that a person cannot achieve financial freedom on the quadrant, on the two quadrants of employment and self-employment. And therefore, your long-term financial strategy could be to become a business owner and ultimately an investor. But can all of us become a business owner? No. Because owning a business answers to certain skill sets. And not all of us have that skill set. And that skill set is a product of a particular mindset. That's part of what we'll be looking at in this book, in this section that we're looking at today. And we're looking at that central objective of the cash flow quadrant. That people on the employment quadrant and self-employment quadrant cannot achieve financial freedom because they are trading their time for money. Their money is not working for them. The business owner have a business system set up and other people work for them. Other people manage that system, whereas the investor has money working for him. Now, the other thing we will look at as we go on is that we are going to look at the toolkit of building wealth. The toolkit of building wealth. Now, there are tools that are particularly tailored to be able to build. Listen, in every building endeavor, in every building design, there are tools specifically designed to help to build. In the building construction, there are tools that have to be used. So many tools. In anything you have to build, it's like also building a home, building a life. There are certain skills, there are certain skill sets that you and I have to get. Prayer is not enough. It's good to have the toolkit. In your toolkit, you have certain tools. And an appreciation for an understanding of the cash flow patterns of the poor, middle class, and rich is a toolkit. It's part of the toolkit. It's in the toolkit that you have to be able to get. And knowledge about the three kinds of business systems is also. So when you look at what we are talking about here, the web builder skills, the web builder's toolkit actually hangs on knowledge. The true wealth is about the transfer of knowledge. Real wealth is knowledge and is portable. So says Steven Spielberg, not Steven Spielberg. Steven Spielberg, Spielberg, the author of The Jewish Phenomenon. He says, real wealth is portable and is knowledge. So, in your wealth builder's toolkit, what you need is first an appreciation for and the understanding of the cash flow patterns. There is a pattern common to the poor. There's a pattern common to the middle class. There's a pattern common to the rich. But by the time we examine the patterns, you'll be able to fix yourself to see whether you are straddled between the two or be among the three, or whether you are independently standing on a particular ground associated with the poor, or the one associated with the middle class, or the one associated with the rich. Also, in your builder's toolkit, we will also look at the ability to differentiate between the 7 levels of investors. So there are investors and there are investors, and they have levels. And the truth of the matter is that life has levels. Life has levels and life has platforms. Life is lived on levels. We arrive there in stages. But on the stage, there are different levels on each stage of life. So the ability to differentiate between the 7 levels of investor. An investment level platform is a stage by itself. An employment quadrant is a stage by itself. And a self-employed quadrant is a stage by itself. And a business owner is a stage by itself. But there are different levels. That's why you will need to acquire to know the 3 kinds of business systems that are available on the business platform, on the business stage. We arrive in life in stages, but we live life in levels, in whatever stage we are occupying. So it is important for us to be able to identify where you are and what you need to do in order to move to the next stage. Remember, it's only the people on the right-hand side of the cash flow quadrant of business ownership and investment that are actually the ones who are living financially free. So we will be looking in the section 2 of this, of the summary of this book. We'll be looking at the ability to differentiate again in the toolkit, the 7 levels of investors. And lastly, within the toolkit, the Wealth Builders Toolkit is another toolkit that is another tool that we are going to be looking at, and that is an understanding of the true nature of money and why you cannot see money with your eyes. The paper you have in your hands is not the true worth of the money. It's just an agreement that if you have that paper, a service commensurate with the value associated with that paper will be given to you. The money itself is not the paper. It is the value associated with it. So creation of values is creation of money. You can create your own money. You can print your own money. The true nature of money is providing services and goods, and people are willing to exchange that paper, the value of that paper, for the value of money that with the value of services and goods that you are able to supply. Now, in section 3, we'll be looking at the wealth builder's mindset. The wealth building mindset is critical because, you see, it is our mindset that determines our action, our belief system. Now, it starts from our values. The value system gives rise to the belief system. The belief system gives rise to our action. And our action is what produces results. It's not listening that produces result. It is the action that follows our belief system. But our belief system emanates from our value system. Value system is critical. Others will call it the core values. So being able to have your core values, that in the creation of values, in the creation of money, in the attempt to print money, what values would you want to espouse to? What values would you want to subscribe to that can help you to create values that others are ready to exchange the paper in their hands to the values of services and goods that you are willing to give? So the wealth building mindset is critical, and therefore you have to be prepared to think for yourself and look at things from a different perspective to most people, because most people are not rich and most people have values contrary to the rich people's value. So ability to be able to look into yourself, to think and to say, what my hand is producing, is this sufficient to give me financial freedom? What perspective do I need to attain to? How do I change my mindset? How do I reorient my life to new values? So also mindset, the wealth builder's mindset that we'll be looking at, realize that being wealthy is more about how and what you think than what you do. Because somebody will say, this is how much I get. But the way what you are getting may be a product of what you are thinking. What you are thinking. People that are risk averse, they don't create wealth. People that are risk averse oftentimes do not create wealth because their action already limits them, based on the fact that they believe to tread on the least path of resistance. Whereas those who create wealth, what do? They take action that others are afraid to take. They calculate the risk, take the risk, and calculate and mitigate against the risk. Actually, they don't just take blind risk, it's calculated risk, and that they take it. They don't paralyze through analysis. They don't become paralyzed through analysis. Because people can keep analyzing, but never take action. So there is a portion of scripture that is relevant to that. That is not the hearers of the word that get blessed, but the doer of the word. Inspiration is not the same thing like perspiration. God knows you can have 1,000 inspiration in a day, but if you are not willing to perspire with one, then you cannot actually produce anything. Anybody that has made something with their life financially, if they are financially astute, you can ask them. They will tell you they are about to leave their comfort zone and then chart in a path unknown, blaze the trail, create the path for others to follow after. So if you are intrinsically a follower, you will not be able to create wealth. You will not be able to create wealth. Okay, so it is important that you understand your mindset is more about how and what you think than what you do. Because some people can say, but all of us are working. Sorry, all of you may be working. You all have 24 hours, but people pack more into their hours than others. Some pack by what they think, they know what flows into their hour, and that's why their value of compensation in terms of the income per hour is more than the others, because they are providing better solutions than the one who say, but we all have the same hour, we all are working. There is the different there are different solutions provided that each is bringing to the table, which also attracts different value remuneration. Okay, so lastly, what builder's mindset is that the object of the game of business is not to become a banker, it is to become the bank. It is to become the bank. To become a banker means somebody is employed. But to become the bank means you house the money. And you can employ somebody to dispense the money for you. So, the object of the game of business in becoming a business owner is not so much to become a banker, to manage other people's money. No, because that's what a banker does. But to become the bank that dispenses money, borrows out money to people with interest return, with certain certain return on the money borrowed, on loan, certain interest on loan. Also, section 4 that we'll be looking at the web builder's fast track strategy. There is a strategy to win the war. The scripture says that make war with counsel. You don't go to war to say you are going to depend on bronze, that you are going to depend on your biceps. No, you win war with brains. You win war with strategy. Jesus said, how many of you will go to war will not first of all sit down and plan whether he is able to meet the opponent with 10 people or 100 people. That's strategy. And how many of you want to build a house, not able to also sit down and say, plan and strategize? So when we're talking about builder's mindset, also requires strategy. And there are 7 steps to getting on the wealth building fast track and becoming CEO of your own life and start setting goals. That setting goals is one thing they do not teach us. I calculated on Sunday during our service that we spend a minimum of 22 years from kindergarten to graduation of first degree or master's degree. Yeah, graduation of master. 22 years. And yet, in all our years of learning in school, they don't teach us on how to set goals. They don't teach us on how to create wealth. They train us with the mindset to know how to go and get a job and work for somebody and work for someone. What if that person did not create the job? Who will we work for? So there are 7 strategies which are fast track steps to becoming a wealth builder. So becoming CEO of your own life and start setting goals is one. Developing your own cash flow management plan. So it's all about planning. So if you fail to plan, you have already prepared to fail. You have already planned. If you fail to plan, you have already planned to fail. Poor planning, it is said, prevents poor performance. Poor preparation prevents poor performance. No planning guarantees a failure. So there are strategies, thoughts that learning the distinction between risk and risky. Get educated in business and investing. So this is about financial education. This is about educating our minds to know that wealth creation answers to certain strategies. Seek mentors, people who have been where you want to go. Expect to make some mistakes along the way. This is what most people run away from. They don't want to make mistakes along the way. Was it my wife this week who was quoting something? No, I think she was playing a video and a man said, I never fail in life. I either win or I learn. And I understand why he said he never fails in life. Because he has turned his failure to a learning curve. So also are people who make wealth, who create wealth. Their failures are learning points. But some people look failure as final. Failure is not final. And success is not the end of life. Failure is learning step. It may be expensive. So wise people learn. They don't wait to learn from their own mistakes. And there is no amount of learning you can learn from others. That when you take the first step to want to do things yourself, that you will still not create your own mistakes. But the key thing is to be wiser, to learn faster from other people's mistakes by looking into their lives and learning from their story, so that when you fail, your failure will be minimal. Your failure will not be maximum, it will be minimal, and it will be easily redeemable. So expect to make some mistakes along the way. Now, if as a business owner, you're waiting to perfect your business before you start, sorry, too bad. You could never start that business. If as a pastor, you are waiting to have everything in place before you start a church, forget it, you will never start that church. If as in any endeavor whatsoever, when they talk about experience, they are talking about what you have learned, the good, the bad, and the ugly of your experiences. Consultancy is all about leveraging your failures for others not to fail where you have failed. Leveraging your experiences for others people's success. That's what consultancy is all about. It's about amassing and collecting the areas of failure in business that you have been exposed to and teaching others how not to fail in that same area. See, your failure has become an opportunity to earn money. No wonder when that guy said, I never fail, I only win or learn. You can't learn some things without failing. But it's the right attitude to say, okay, this failure has now become my learning point. As long as it is still redeemable. You can't be waiting till the latter end of your life saying you don't want to learn from others. Well, that's where you find yourself where you are anyway. That if it's the latter end of your life, you are now looking at what you want to do, and you are not willing to want to learn from others who have gone ahead of you. Because one of the fast track strategy of building wealth is to seek mentors, people who have been where you want to go. So I think that's all what we have for today, so that next week we begin proper. Remember again, the central objective of the cash flow quadrant is that you cannot achieve financial freedom being an employee or self-employed by staying on the left side of the quadrant of E and S, which stand for employment and self-employment. But you have to move to the right side of the quadrant, top to bottom, from becoming a business owner who has an understanding of business systems and set up a business system that allows for a minimal supervision from him, not taking his time, but only taking his knowledge, and can walk through other people. So, your long-term financial strategy, therefore, should be to become a business owner and ultimately an investor. So, remember those 4 ways, because we are coming back to be able to do more, for me to explain more on this. But in the next 4 minutes, I'm going to give you key thoughts from Robert Kiyosaki. Remember, this is about mental empowerment, and this is in sync with the theme of this month in our church here in Kingdom Arena, Luton, legacy. We're talking about legacy. But legacy is an end product of a process of actions which involves understanding money, making money, managing money, multiplying money, and building a legacy. After we finish cash flow corner, we are going to get to look at a book called Getting Good with Money. After you have known how you need to position yourself, then you need to know how to get good with the money that you make. So I'm going to read 4 quotes from the cash flow quadrant that will help you to understand what I have explained here tonight. He said, the reason most people struggle financially is because they take advice from people who are also mentally blind to money. I sent out what is it called? The video clip for the month. And 2 people reacted to it. In fact, one of them is a close friend of many years ago when we were growing up. Say, the true word is to live holiness and righteousness and blah 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 for your children. I said to myself, oh, what a mistake, because that's what the son of the prophet in 2 Kings chapter 4 also taught, that after his death, the creditors came to want to take his 2 sons away. The creditors did not want to know whether he left righteousness or holiness for his children. They don't. he was the one who brought the family into indebtedness. The scripture says the man feared the Lord, but the man was in debt. And so there was no legacy left for his children, but legacy of indebtedness, to the point that the creditor came wanting to take the two sons. Don't let your case be like that. Oh, you can make a difference. You can turn things around now by you not making your children to become subject to bailiff, become subject to creditors coming after, wanting now to run after your wife, running after your children. They don't want to know what legacy of righteousness and holiness you left behind. If not God's mercy that came to rescue, what the man should have done in his days is what his wife did after his death. Selling. He provided values for those who need oil, and they were willing to pay for it. That's what this is talking about, because the moment you start selling, you become a business owner. You set up a system to create more values for you to exchange for money from others. Don't fall into the religious mindset. Another one said, God is not interested in wealth. I said, hey, you should go to Tesco and say, God is not interested in wealth. Give me conflicts. Give me meat. Give me that. You said, what? They said, where's the money? You say, God is not interested in wealth. Okay, why don't you grow your own conflicts? Why don't you grow your home animal and slaughter and kill and eat it alone? Don't be deceived. It's the height of religiosity and blindedness for you to say money is not needed to meet your need. It is needed. And you've got to have to put money in asset for your children to inherit, so that they do not become objects of ridicule after your death. This is what being blind to money creates in a man's life. So Kiyosaki said, it's a classic tale of the blind leading the blind. If you take advice from people who are also mentally blind. And look, in Luke 6:39, he said, Can the blind lead the blind? Will they not both fall into the what? Into the ditch. So what he's saying here is that it takes one hired man to lead blind people. It takes two hired men to lead one hired people. You need to see clearly. The new definition, the new rule of money is knowledge. The new rule of money is knowledge. The new rule of wealth is knowledge. We are living in an information age. We are living in a tech age. Please don't lag behind. If you want money to come to you, you must know how to take care of it. If money is not first in your head, it will not stick in your hands. If it does not stick to your hands, then money and people with money will stay away from you. Wow. That's eating under the belt. If money is not first in your head, it will not stick in your hands. If it does not stick to your hands, then money and people with money will stay away from you. Do you know what is in your heart is what you will begin to attract to yourself. You begin to see opportunities in what others see as dead ends. But Kiyosaki says again, he says, an asset puts money in your pocket. A liability takes money out of your pocket. A house, even with the mortgage paid off, only becomes an asset if it generates a positive cash flow. Otherwise, it is still a liability. So many of us are carrying about with liability, thinking we have a house, until we finish paying for it and it's generating money. Does it become an asset? The next two, and I round up. We're in the dawning of the information age. We are already in the information age. We are not in the dawning. And this age will offer more opportunities than ever for financial reward. We are now in a technological age that offers more opportunities than ever for financial reward. It will be individuals with the skills of the business owners and investors quadrant who will be able to identify and seize those opportunities. It's all about opportunities, but your mindset is what will determine. Will identify those opportunities. To some, they will cling from it. They will run away from, I don't want my hands to be burnt. But what is success in life? Success in life is failure upon failure without giving up. To be successful in the information age, a person will need information from all 4 quadrants, from employee quadrant, self-employed quadrant, business owners quadrant, and investors quadrant. Unfortunately, our schools are still in the industrial age and still prepare students for only the left side of the quadrant. What's the left side of the quadrant? To become an employee and to become self-employed. Lastly, and I round up with this, the reward from the journey is not only the freedom that money buys, but the trust you gain in yourself. For they really are the same thing. My best advice to you is to prepare daily to be bigger than your smallness. In my opinion, the reason most people stop and turn back from their dream is because the tiny person found inside each of us beats the person that is bigger. Ooh, that is eating under the belt, beating low under the belt. I've come to the end of today's broadcast, and scrolling on the screen is our appeal to you to give towards our ministry. I believe you've been blessed tonight, and today is Awaken the Leadership in You, a mental empowerment program of Kingdom Arena Luton. Cash Flow Quadrant. If you have not read the book, that's what we have been summarizing for you, so that your life can be better and you can move forward. Because listen, if your mind is close to information, your life is close to success. We are living in an information age. Information makes the difference for you. But not just information, your ability to take the right steps commensurate with the information you have received. So, we ask you to join us on Sunday during our usual Sunday service, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. on Sunday by the grace of God, here at Kingdom Arena, 6 Union Street, Luton. You can know and you can get to know more about us by going to our website on www.kingdomarena.org.uk. Thank you for joining me tonight. I am once again Tunde Ogedengbe, the lead pastor of Kingdom Arena, Luton, England. What we have covered today is the first, it's an introduction anyway to the cash flow quadrant. In 2 weeks' time, because of our program next weekend of our Freedom Conference, 3-day week Freedom Conference, which we are encouraging you to join us online, 7 p.m. next Friday when we started the conference on freedom, how to be financially free through proper planning. Thank you and God bless you. Bye-bye.